You're listening to the REI Marketing Nerds podcast, the leading resource for real estate investors who want to dominate their market online. Dan Barrett is the founder of AdWords Nerds, a high-tech digital agency focusing exclusively on helping real estate investors like you get more leads and deals online, outsmart your competition, and live a freer, more awesome life. And now, your host, Dan Barrett.
All right, what is up, everybody? This is Daniel Barrett here from AdWordsNerds.com, and this is the REI Marketing Nerds podcast. I am so happy to have you here as always. And this week, we have a really cool interview. Now, you may or may not know this about me, depending on how long you've been listening to the podcast, but I am a systems person. And I am a systems person primarily because without systems, I completely fall apart, right? Like I cannot keep things in my head. I am forgetful. I am absent-minded. I am just like the classic sort of absent-minded professor stereotype. And without lots of systems and note-taking and automations and all these things, I really struggle. And so more or less, most of the success I've had in my life has come because I've been able to systemize a lot of things in my life and in my work. Now, this week, we are talking to Bob Lachance. And if you don't know Bob, he runs this company called Reva Global. And this is what he does. He helps real estate investors put systems in place for their business, build outsourced teams to work those systems and scale through them. Really smart dude, got a ton to teach us about systems and real estate investing and team building and all those things. So without any further ado, let's jump into my interview with Bob Lachance from RevaGlobal.com. I am here with Bob Lachance from RevaGlobal.com. That's REVA Global.com. Bob, welcome to the show, man. Thank you so much for being here.
Dan, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I am super pumped to have you, not the least of which, as you just reminded me, we're actually in the same town. We're doing this on Zoom, but we are like within 10 miles of each other, which has never happened to me, I think, in the history of the show. So I appreciate that.
We're both freezing together right now. We're both freezing together.
Yeah. I just took a walk around the block before I did this, and I was like, yeah, it's legit cold out right now, which is okay. So let's talk about Reva Global. For people that don't know the company, aren't really familiar with you, just give people like a 30,000 foot overview of Reva Global and what you guys do.
Absolutely. I have a virtual staffing company. So all my virtual assistants are out of the Philippines. We're at about 1,000 virtual assistants right now. A high percentage of them are real estate professional virtual assistants, whether it's agents, investors, property managers. We have a number of them that do bookkeeping, social media management, et cetera, et cetera. And then the other percentage is on the medical side. So we have kind of a little bit of mix, but we work with a lot of real estate investors on that side that want to do either phone work or admin work, because we know in our business right now, consistency is really what keeps us ahead of our competitors. Like we were talking about before, I also have an investment company. We did 166 transactions last year, and we're set to do about 230 this year. And we use my virtual assistants to, run a lot of our business, et cetera, et cetera. So it's pretty cool that I get to use my service just like you. We talked about this. You could use your service as a service provider and also actually do the actual business where, a lot of other service providers don't have that unique ability to be able to do that.
Yeah. Okay, I want to dig into this idea of virtual assistants because I think a lot of people have, it's weird. I think it's really split down the middle. You would know this much better than I, but my impression is that people are like on opposite ends of this spectrum where one, they think they're going to hire virtual assistants and they'll never have to work again. And they're going to sleep on the beach every day and drink from a coconut or whatever. And then there are other people who are like, you can't use virtual assistants for serious work. Like they're completely split.
Yeah.
And like many things, I think the reality is somewhere in the middle. And I also think it's an incredible opportunity to leverage this really amazing, sort of part of the workforce. So I want to dig into virtual assistants and using them. I would love to start by doing that with you. You mentioned you have an investing sort of part of your business portfolio. You guys are doing really significant deal volume and you are using virtual assistants. So can you walk me through the beginning of that process. When you started, right? Did you always start the business using VAs for real estate? Was that like a learning curve for you? What was that process like for you guys?
Yeah, it's funny. 2 seconds. I'll give you a quick rundown. I started investing back in 2004. So I've been in this business for, quite some time. Pat Precourt, right?
Yeah.
Pat and I were business partners back in the day for about 10 years.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Damn.
So we started in 2004, and my first deal I did, I flipped the property, made about 32 grand, but I knew nothing about real estate. Again, this is back in 2004. There really weren't that many coaching programs, or I didn't know of any.
Yeah.
The word online was kind of right at the beginning. It was pretty interesting, right? There's so much content out there now. It's advantageous now to start a business rather than we did back then. So after I did that one transaction, I joined Connecticut Real Estate Association, REI, and I saw a speaker on pre-foreclosure speak. And so I bought the course, invested in the course, and the next meeting, I went to everybody and I said, hey, who's the best short sale guy in Connecticut? I'll point to Pat. So I went up to Pat. I said, listen, I'm not looking for a job. I'm looking to join a team. I said, I'm not looking for a W-2. I'm an investor now. I played professional hockey for 8 years, blah, blah, blah. I got I was a college dropout. And, now I'm here and I'm willing to do anything. He goes, you know what? I'm looking for a door knocker. And I'm like, I had no idea what he meant. But like, all right, I'm in. He handed me a list of pre-foreclosure properties and a script. So I went door to door from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. every Monday through Friday for a year straight.
Wow.
So just knocking on doors. And my whole mindset was, listen, you got to learn the business from ground up. And then, and I had no formal education in business. I knew nothing. Right. So I just figured, hey, and I got a little money in the bank now and, let me learn it. And then after a year, I graduated, Pat and I became partners, and then I started negotiating with banks. I got a door knocker, took my spot, and then, we kind of evolved from there. But in 2007, we helped start a real estate education program. Fortune Builders, guys that were in New Haven that moved out to San Diego.
Yeah.
They came to us, and so Pat and I were running a back end of a coaching program, another coaching program for short sales, and they were starting the process of going from REI group to REI group to sell their course. And then the next phase, typically how that works is you start a coaching program. So since Pat and I were already well-versed in how to build one from the back end, he said, hey, you guys want to be on the team? You guys want to partner? We're like, sure. We had no idea where it would end up. Fast forward as one of the biggest companies, in the country for many, many years pre-COVID, right? So anyway, to get to the story, I had to preempt this. So when I'm working with students, we went to probably 50, 100,000 students throughout the years. And when I was working one-on-one, because my job was I had to build up the coaching program. I had to get new coaches in and build it up from there. We went from 0 to, probably ended up with 70 plus coaches in that organization. But there was a common theme. The common theme was every time we would give somebody, I like to call homework assignments or action items that, they were newer or even seasoned, pretty much 9 times out of 10, I give them 2 weeks worth of action items or homework. They wouldn't get 90% of stuff done. And I'd be like, all right, why? Well, I'm busy, kids soccer. I got another job. You're going to hear everything, right? Vacation, golf, kids, dogs, sport, whatever it is, right? And I was always looking for that whatever that thing was, whether it's a product or a service, to say, how could we help these individuals? And then 2013, I got introduced to what a virtual assistant was. And I'm like, I think we're onto something. So 2014, a light bulb went on, and I saw an individual speak. This is my first business partner back in the day. And I knew it was a business right away. So I ended up starting my first company in 2014, testing it for 2 years. And then it was a really, really big hit. And then 2000, or what are we in 2000, almost 2023 right now, we're over 1,000 VAs. So good. Of course, there's a lot into that we could talk about business wise, but that's really the long and short of it.
Want to find motivated seller leads online, but don't know where to start? Download our free Motivated Seller Keyword Report today. AdWords nerds have spent over $5 million this year researching the most profitable keywords for finding motivated seller leads. And you can grab these exact keywords when you download our report at www.adwordsnerds.com/keywords.
I want to start with your time in Fortune Builders and understanding, working with so many people and understanding that the constraint on most people's progress, growth, success, whatever you want to call it, was their ability to get the things they knew they needed to do done, right? Because it's a really unique situation if you think about, right? Like most entrepreneurship problems are, I know I need to do something, but I don't know what it is, right? It's complex and, the future's uncertain. Here's like you told them you tell them what to do, like go do the thing. And they didn't do it. So I understand that everybody's busy, right? But what is underneath that? Is it really that there wasn't enough time for that person and it was purely a time constraint? Was it that they knew basically what to do, but they didn't know enough about the exact step to actually get going? Was it that they were anxious about it? Like if you step back and you look at the broader picture of why we all have these things that we aren't doing that we know we need to do, like what is it? Is it just that there aren't enough hours in the day? Like what's the root cause there?
I think it's pain. It's honestly, it's pain. And I'll explain what that means, because when clients come on, they either want, they want more time because they don't have enough time in their business, in their day. They want to scale or they want to become more efficient. Those are typically the three things. But the pain, you look at all the tasks that we do in our business, right? I guarantee you there's some tasks in your business that you absolutely hate, right? You absolutely hate. Same thing in real estate investing, right? It's the same exact thing. Guess what? What happens, and I look at all lead generation. So we'll talk about marketing, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you have a marketing channel that brings in leads to us investors, right? That's one marketing channel. But there's also and that's done consistently by you. That's a consistent basis. What happens as a real estate investor, me included, when I was actually doing this before I understood how this stuff worked and you needed help, it was the consistency, behind it. And here's what I did, and I'll give you a perfect example. So when I door knocked, what I would do is I would go home and I would take those phone numbers and those names and I would skip trace them like 411.com or white pages, and I would get the best possible phone number for those individuals that I door knocked. Then I would come home and I would call them. It's all about 7:00 before I'd have dinner and, spend time with the family, et cetera, et cetera. But that's what I would do every day. Challenge happens. Now you got to bring your kids somewhere. Guess what happens? Cold calls don't happen anymore. Leads stop coming in. And there's a lot of pain in that. You will get burnt out. If you're cold calling every single day, you will 100% get burnt out, and then you'll miss weeks, because we know in our business, it has to be done consistently. Same thing with you guys. You guys market to drive us leads. That's done daily, right? No matter what, that has to keep going. Same exact thing with, we'll go direct. Let's if we're talking about marketing, it's direct to seller, cold calling, text messaging, right? Direct mail, because you still have to get that direct mail out every single day. So if you're looking at all of that, I think it's the pain of getting that done and the consistency, because if you don't do things consistently in any of our businesses, you're gonna have a very, very difficult time to make money, especially when the markets turn.
I think that's a really interesting point, right? I hadn't really thought about that, but there are certainly tasks that are inherently enjoyable, like enjoyable in themselves, right? Like I love working on a Google sheet and I just like that, right? There's something satisfying about it. I don't particularly like, email follow-up or whatever it is. And so I'm less sort of motivated to do that. It also strikes me that a lot of the stuff that I think VAs and, a company like Reva Global, if you're hooking somebody up with a process system, a team or whatever, one of the things where that really shines is, in your example, it's the, skip tracing and calling the pre-foreclosures. It's this work where that's a lead indicator of success, but the result of that doesn't happen for a while. So there's a whole stretch where you're doing this thing that's not super pleasant and you get no benefit from it, right? So it's like you start dieting for the first time and you're hungry and you look exactly the same, and it's like, the benefit is down the line. And I think processes and systems like the one that you guys work with are so powerful for that, because, you just sort of get yourself out of that and you can just know that it's happening, reap the reward when it happens.
Yeah, and I'll give you a quick example of just how it works in our office. I'm going to give you a 2-second, a 2-second rundown. So we have all of our cold callers. We have, I think, 6 cold callers that are calling, right, all day long, up from about 9 to 6 at night, as we have them calling every single day. We have our acquisition team, literally right to that office. We have 8 acquisition guys are following up on all of those leads come in. So they don't have to waste their time at all. So they're just waiting. We hand them some very, very warm leads. So it's their job to follow our, obviously, we train them, follow our script on how we actually make money in our business that turns those into contracts. And then it goes to our selling side of our dispo side of our team, and they take it from there. But if we didn't have all of that up front, well, cold calling, texting, kind of the same process, those leads are coming in 10, 20, 30 a day to be followed up on by our team. If that wasn't happening, it'd be very, very difficult to be an acquisition guy and also try to drive all leads, right? That's why your company's so powerful. You drive leads, right?
Yeah. I think, and you're also hitting on this thing too, which is, you said it before earlier in the interview, and I want to underline it again, right? It's consistency is ultimately what generates the return. There's this idea, especially with like lead generation for any online leads, right? It's like one of the primary factors that drives a client's success or failure in the channel is the speed with which and the consistency with which they follow up on their leads, right? So it's one thing to say, well, I'm going to do that. And then, like you said, the kid needs to get picked up at soccer practice and that goes out the window, versus having a system outside of yourself that does that for you, which I think is so powerful. I wanted to ask you, I think a common complaint or maybe anxiety that business owners have is if you are the one that is used to, for example, answering the phones, being at the kitchen table, doing the deal, or any part of that process, right?
Yep.
The acquisitions or follow-up, whatever it is. I think entrepreneurs often feel like they either can't or don't know how to break down that process in such a way that someone else could take it over from them, right? Mm-hmm. It's the sort of classic entrepreneurial, like, I'm having trouble delegating this process. There are things that I am like that, right? And I'm pretty systems oriented, but even I'm like, well, I don't really know how to explain what I'm doing here. So how do you guys help people deal with that problem? Or how do you deal with that problem in your own business where it seems pretty complex? How do you start to break it down in such a way that someone else can step in and help you out?
Yeah, it's funny. It's like the 80-20 rule, right? The majority of us think that no one can do it better than us. But guess what? If they could do it 80% as good as us, it's done consistently, because 100% of not consistent is not good in our business. So if they could do it 80% as good as us, then it's way better. But to get back to what you were asking, is we actually train our virtual assistants for a month straight on different stuff: phone handling skills, text messaging, social media, property management. There's a laundry list of stuff that we do. So they have a fantastic foundation to where if I'm a new client, the only thing that our virtual assistant says is, all right, what tool do you use? So now we can also train them on the tool. Like, there's a lot of different text messaging tools, a lot of different cold calling tools, right? But they still have the base knowledge of how to text, how to call, how to drive leads. So if they have that base knowledge, the foundation is already built. Also, if someone is looking and has kind of a unique system and process, what we do is we just say, hey, listen, get on, download maybe Loom or some sort of video type program and just identify exactly what your system is for 10 minutes, hand it off to our team, and we'll create it into a system and a process for it.
Yeah. I think, like you said, having someone who can almost look at it from the outside is very helpful, right? I think so. It's like I have a friend that often says you can't read the label while you're inside the bottle. And it's like this very much like someone else can step into your business and say like, okay, I understand how this process is broken down into these component steps. Whereas to you, it's just all one big thing.
Yep.
So you mentioned your VAs are in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing over the past year, I did some consulting with a company in the Philippines, helping them train some of their people. So I've gotten to know a little bit about the workplace culture in the Philippines. Yep. I'm curious, from someone who knows 100 times more about it than I'm ever going to know, right? Sure. What do you see as the differences in the work culture between the Philippines and the States? What do you see as sort of the best practices for investors that are thinking about hiring VAs and want to work with them effectively? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, obviously one of them is the investment cost, right? You look at the Philippines. If you're looking for anybody here in the United States to work for you for $10 or $11, you're not going to find anybody, right? Especially in Connecticut, minimum wage keeps going up. Right. I had to use the appliance company, and I sold it, I think about 2 years ago, and I couldn't get a cleaner to come on and clean for $12 an hour. So could you imagine trying to hire someone in your real estate business? if you can't find a cleaner in a different industry. That's just an example, right? So the point is, each state keeps going up on their minimum wage, which means, right? That means if someone's college educated and they graduate, they're not working for $12 an hour. They're not working for 14. They want 20, 25, 30. And as a small business, all those pennies count. Every single dollar, quarter, nickel, whatever, however you want to look at it, they all count for us, as small business owners. So Philippines, their cost of living, it's a lot different than us, right? Their wages are smaller than ours. Ours are high. It costs a lot of money here, and taxes keep going up, it seems like. So when you start looking at that, for me, the Philippines have been fantastic from day one. Their culture just fits exactly what we as real estate investors need. It's more of a kind of a servant mentality, right? To where they give your business is their business. Rising tides lift all ships. They're not looking as a business owner. They know it's your business and they just want to give. They want to support. They want to make sure that you're successful. It's just a different mindset where, a lot of individuals in the United States, they see that you're successful. It's like crabs in a bucket. They want to pull you down rather than pick you up, right? Different kind of culture where they want to pick you up on your shoulders. They want to make sure that you're successful. Here, there's a lot of jealousy. There's a lot of Facebook posting, like, fake book and all that kind of stuff that we all see in our industry. I mean, hey, we all know people that will post something and we're like, probably, I know for a fact that that's not true, but we're not going to call them out on it. So different culture. I've been around a long time, so I'm okay with saying this stuff.
Hey guys, hope you enjoyed part 1 of this episode. It's just too good to limit to one show. Join us next week to hear the rest.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.